Welcome everyone to another Buffalo Football Talk pre-recorded edition. I'm Nick Wojton, Bills beat reporter for the Batavia Daily News, along with Joe Leathersich, our number 2 on the Bills beats, and of course Wyoming County. He's the guy to go to for all that. Doing another pre-recorded, not because there's a bye week, everyone. Don't worry, they don't have 2 of those a season. But our master of ceremonies, Jimmy Jam from CJ Country, could not make it this week. On a little travel schedule, I guess, for him.
Due to the holiday, understandable.
Understandable. We all have our obligations around the holidays, so. So we're going to kick it off here, just us 2, pre-recorded edition, again, as I mentioned. To start, Joe, let's talk about this win in Cincinnati the Bills just had. 16-12, the Bills are now 2-0, while yours truly is covering the team on the road, and they also have scored 16 points in both of those games in New England with a 16-0 win.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that.
I mean, either, until just about 10 seconds ago when Gary mentioned it to me. And 16-12 this week against the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe, a couple interesting things that come out of that one, and then we'll get into the upcoming game against the 2-8 Jaguars. Quite a few injuries on both sides of it.
Yeah.
I cried a little bit for my fantasy team. On the first pass of the game, A.J. Green went down. Stephon Gilmore, though, made up for it by getting 2 interceptions in that game. So I guess we can even just start right there with the defense, Joe. What were your takes on the defense in this past week against the Bengals?
Yeah, well, I mean, just to echo what you just said, the A.J. Green going down was huge. That was sort of a gift wrap. Gift, I guess, sorry.
Gift wrap,
for the defense. I think I was impressed with the defense. I think it was kind of more the same of what we've come to expect of the Bills' defense. Most of my concerns were with the offense, as they usually are. But, I don't know. I thought it was a pretty standard game. Obviously Gilmore's interceptions were huge, especially someone who we've been talking about. Is he going to get paid or not, and things like that. But, yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
The defense definitely in the last 2 weeks, and especially in the second half particularly, the defense is performing very well. This past week against the Bengals, they have 5 3-and-out drives, that being the Cincinnati Bengals offense before, so 5 3-and-out drives. They had 2 more that were 5 plays, so that's great to hear right there. And then they had a couple more where they were driving, and Stephon Gilmore in the save the day. Who would have thought we were saying that this week?
I know, seriously.
So the Bills defense definitely stepped up. It was good to see that from Gilmore. I think he left a little bit to be desired sometimes. He was beat by Tyler Boyd on one of their only scores of the day.
Yep.
On their last hope of a chance of winning that game with the Bengals was a Hail Mary pass at the end. But leading up to that drive, he was beating the sideline a time or 2. But that's sort of nitpicking. It's sort of hard to say that a guy who had 2 interceptions in an NFL football game had a bad game. So I'm certainly not here to say that. Stephon certainly stepped up, and those 5 3-and-outs were huge.
To those 5 3-and-outs, was that a situation where the Bengals lost more than the Bills won? Because how many times have the Bills been on that side where it's, we say the Buffalo actually lost the game and not whoever the Bills were facing won the game? And I feel like, you can point to Nugent, that was part of it, but, I don't know, those all those 3-and-outs, what are your thoughts? Do you think it was more attributed to the Bengals offense or the Bills defense?
I think it was a mix of both. That's a good point to make because of A.J. Green. Rex said that the Bills' plan was to double-team them all game, and he was certainly confident, as Rex Ryan also is, that they were going to shut him down. But Rex can really say that, and no one can say anything because, well, what are they going to say? No, A.J. Green was going to toast you?
Right.
Well, he didn't play. So Rex can say he was confident in the coverage they were going to have on A.J. Green regardless because they didn't have to worry about it. But last year against him, I believe A.J. Green was held to about 36 yards and 4 catches. So they did hold him up pretty well last year. So maybe Rex does have a point there. But if you want to jump over to the other side of the ball quick, Joe, the offense, the one thing that I found particular, the one thing I took away from this game offensively was Tyrod Taylor, not the best game. I think we're back down to earth with Tyrod after the stellar performance he had against the Seahawks. But Tyrod, he got the job done. And that was what was important for me. Nothing really crazy good, but your top receiver goes out again this season.
Yeah, not Sammy. When you say top, you don't mean Sammy.
Yeah,
we're talking about Robert Woods.
Robert Woods he got hurt. Shady, out again. Dislocated thumb. The Bills still won. They still got the job done. They still got the clock going just enough. Mike Gillislee had about 70-some yards, 14 carries. So for me, that was really good to see that Tyrod and the offense did just enough with their 2 top guys out to still pull out a win.
Well, I think the way you just described Tyrod the way you described Tyrod's game against the Bengals could be the words used to describe his whole season. He's kind of gets the job done, does okay, leaves a little more to be desired, things like that. I was listening to the post game after the game on Sunday, and there's some people were calling in sort of being Tyrod apologists in that the Bills were winning the game, so they're trying to run more, which to run out the clock more, meaning Tyrod had less opportunities to pass. Basically, I think people were trying to hang on. That's some fans' way of going back to the Seattle game and saying no, he is good. We saw it in Seattle, so that's why it was different. But they were running the ball, so that's why it was different in Cincinnati this week.
Yeah, where I thought they could definitely improve. Tough to say the defense needs to improve. Again, Gilmore, 2 interceptions, locked it down real good in the second half. 4 straight 3-and-outs for the Bengals. You can't be mad at all with how the defense played. But twice in the red zone, the Bills twice they only got a field goal. If they put away one of those scores for a touchdown, we're not holding our breath at a Hail Mary at the end of the game.
Oh my God!
One of them, one of the drives, I should say, Tyrod Taylor did get in the end zone. Rich Incognito holding. The next play, that was 3rd down. The next play, they throw an underneath pass to Charles Clay, and he's short. Dan Carpenter kicks field goal. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the best play calling. I know at the end of the game too, 3rd and maybe 6 or so. They're running the clock down, about 4 minutes left. They go with a pass, incompletion. Quick out route to Percy Harvin, I think it was, or Brendan Tate. Yeah. Incomplete, not a great throw by Tyrod, but really, I would personally take, you want to see your team make that aggressive play call and get the first down, but that clock's running there. Their offense can't do anything this game. I would have taken the 3 yards and 40 less seconds on the clock for them, to be honest, but who am I? I've only played Madden my whole life.
Yeah, no.
Joe, if it's cool, let's jump over to this week.
This week, yes.
We got the Jacksonville Jaguars in town. Well, I'll be there, of course, for the Batavia Daily News. At New Era Field, Joe, the 2-8 Jaguars. Certainly a game that the Bills should win.
Yeah. Aren't they 3-7?
Nope, they're 2-8.
I thought it said 3-7 on ESPN.com. We'll have our fact checkers check it out.
Yeah, well, Mike Rodak, who likes that guy, right?
I'm just kidding, Mike. so yeah, I think the Bills are an 8-point favorite. Pretty much everyone has the Bills to win this game. All various predictors, but if you look down some of the list, they're kind of similar, and Bills and Jacksonville are similar in total offense. And I have a friend who's a Jacksonville fan who watches them each week, and so I asked him what's going on? It's the other part of it is that Jacksonville has their top 10, they're number 7, they're ranked 7th in total D.
That we can agree on there. Definitely ranked 7th, I know that.
Right, so I sort of asked my friend, what's going on? What is it? And he said, it's just Bortles and their rushing game. And so I think, looking, when I look at the numbers there regarding rushing and Bortles, that really tells me that's where the Bills need to take advantage. And, Bortles is not that good of a quarterback. Now that Tyrod's much better, but he's really not good. They have no rushing game, and I think that could really play into the Bills' defense the way it's set up. Yeah,
really, the numbers just completely, other than the record, which we can agree the Bills are 5-5 right now.
Right, yeah.
We're looking at the Jaguars. Regardless, the Jaguars are down there. They're out of the playoff race. They're done. The Bills are hanging on for dear life. Where they should be coming up right here is really because all the numbers are pointing in favor of the Bills. They're doing better defensively, the Jaguars, a little bit in certain cases. But we have, in terms of points scored this season, Bills 10th, 253 points this year. The Jaguars, 193, they're 27th. Points allowed. Flip side, the Bills, 12th, 215. Jaguars are 25th at 265. Just those right there. The Bills should be handling the Jaguars. They should be confident heading into this game.
I would think so.
The biggest one for me, though, is you mentioned Blake Bortles there. Blake Bortles is not having a good season this year, folks. He used to be a pretty good fantasy quarterback. People were high on him this year. Mm-hmm. More so because he used to get a lot of throws in garbage time when the Jags were down a lot.
Right,
They let the young guy in there, let him sling and grab another 50 yards in the last 2 minutes of the game. Mm-hmm. There you go. You'll take that any day in fantasy football. But Blake Bortles this year is giving games away, where Tyrod Taylor is, we like to see him take chances a little bit more, maybe through the air. He doesn't turn the ball over. The Bills have a +8 turnover differential. That's the 4th best in the league. Now, they take into that factor to turnover differential, so it takes in both sides of it. And the reason why the Bills are so good is because Tyrod doesn't throw the ball away; they don't give the ball away.
Right.
The Jacksonville Jaguars give the ball away. Yeah. Blake Bortles, our friend Ryan Fitzpatrick, is tied for him with the league. League lead.
Same thing written down.
Yeah, league lead in interceptions this year, 13. Yep. They have a minus 15 turnover differential. That's worse than the league from the Jaguars. And this week, coming off of Gilmore's game, I think this can do a complete 180 for him, and I think he's going to see
180 into top 5 money.
That's what I was going to get at. I think he's going to get 180 in his mind at least. If he can have a good game this week, and if he can grab another pick, because they're certainly going to be up there. He likes to throw a lot of 50-50 balls, as we were mentioning yesterday in the media room. 50-50 balls up there, and that could benefit. I mean, the turnovers have to play a part in this game. You think, right?
Yeah, I think so. Looking, I mentioned the rushing offense for Jacksonville. One stat is they're tied for second in fumbles with 8, and they're only behind Buffalo, who has the most fumbles purely from the rushing side, which I just thought was kind of an interesting point. Yeah. Not to take away from the turnover differentials you're mentioning.
That goes to the turnovers. I think Buffalo probably recovers a few. And then Buffalo is the most rushing team in the league, too, so that makes a lot of sense. By far. They're rushing the ball more than anybody.
They just became official after the game. The Bills lead the league in rushing yards per attempt at, I forget, 5.2 or 5. I think it's 5.3. Yeah, and Miami's in second, and they're a half yard behind.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a pretty, when you're talking about an average on rushing yards per attempt, that's a pretty wide margin.
It's also worth noting in regards to the rushing game, the Bills are hopefully going to have LaShawn McCoy this week, is what happened with him last week. As we mentioned, he got injured. Robert Woods got injured. Dislocated thumb. They couldn't get it back in, which sounds disgusting to me as well. Couldn't get his thumb back. Sure. Couldn't get his thumb back in on the sideline. Couldn't get it back in correctly in the locker room. He had surgery. They landed in Buffalo after the game. He had surgery on his thumb in Buffalo Sunday night. Should be good to go. He's sounding optimistic. Rex did not say that he's going to play, but he certainly didn't sound like he wasn't going to play. Now, on the flip side, Robert Woods, he is doubtful for this week. Robert Woods is probably not going to play this week for the Bills with a knee sprain, but not as bad as it originally looked. It's not a pretty-looking play, just a knee sprain. Who would have thought Vontaze Burfict was in on that tackle for somebody?
Well, the Bills players sort of not came to his defense, but they said that for how dirty of a player he is, they didn't think that play specifically was.
It's just kind of funny. Vontaze Burfict.
Right. No, I agree.
Of course, he's in there. Now, offensively, Joe. In regards to the Jaguars' defense, I think it's going to be interesting in regards to the passing game. I think this game benefits the Bills for sure, because where we mentioned that they're 7th in defense is where they really thrive. The Jaguars is their pass defense. They've only given up 15 big pass plays over 25 yards this year. That's 3rd best in the league. And Tyrod last year was known for throwing those long balls. Hasn't really done it too much this year. Pass yards per attempt, they're giving up only 6.5, which is 5th best in the league. So I don't think the Bills are going to get done in the air. Only 166 yards passing from Tyrod last week. He hasn't had a 300-yard game, which I love to mention on our show. He has not had a 300-yard game in his career. So I think this really benefits the Bills because, of course, I'm going to say if they can't get it done through the air, Joe, they're going to get it done through the running game this week.
Yeah. I think we have the rushing yards per attempt stat, but then I have the same thing down about Jacksonville's defense. They're a top 10 in total defense, but when you break it down even further, the passing defense is really what's keeping that number up there, up towards the top. The rushing defense is second in the lower half of the league. So I think it plays perfectly into Buffalo. Their passing game isn't as strong, but we obviously, needless to say, the rushing game is very strong when it comes to Shady and Gillislee and Tyrod.
And, of course, factoring in the injuries as well. We mentioned Robert Woods. He's probably not going to play. Percy Harvin hasn't made much of an impact. Only about 4 touches last week, I believe. None the week before. Still getting acclimated in the offense, I guess. I would expect anyone who picked him up in fantasy, I would probably, if you got a flex this week, I'd probably stick him in there. This is probably going to be the biggest week for Percy so far in his return. They're running out of options. Walt Powell was hurt last week. Brandon Tate did have a concussion before he was back this week, but they've had their injuries, of course, pile up in that skill player position, no doubt. Now, the best matchup I'm looking at this week is one I saw breaking down the numbers, as you said there, Joe, is in the trenches, and the Bills' defense is on the field. The Bills' defense, their sack percent, first in the league, getting sacks on 8.6% of plays. The Jaguars' offensive line, not terrible in regards to that. You'd think they were with how weak Blake Bortles' season has gone, but they're 7th. They only allow 4.8%. So I'm very interested to see that. We still have Lorenzo Alexander. He's still at the top, and we do appreciate.
It's tied now, though. He's got.
Yes, I was going to say. I just was on the website for NFL.com. We do appreciate that. While Von Miller and I'm forgetting the other player's name, who also has 10 sacks this year. They still have Zoe's picture up as number 1. Though.
Right. Yeah.
So that's all that matters. So.
Well, he did it first.
Yeah. So. Exactly. So I'm expecting the game to. Defensively, we're talking about the trenches there, but it's definitely that of course will factor into, it all swoops around the one thing for the defense of the offensive line, or excuse me, the defensive line of the Bills can put some pressure on Blake Bortles. I think we're going to see, hopefully, some dollar signs in Stephon Gilmore's eyes after the game, that sort of thing, and a good secondary game as well for the Bills.
What's your take on, going back, I'm thinking ahead, but in regards to Cincinnati, the whole secondary situation, because during the bye it was kind of at least headlines for Bills fans that Rex sort of opened up the competition during the bye week, specifically regarding the secondary. What's your opinion on that?
On how they performed last week?
How they performed last week, and and then tie it into how you think it'll go into this week.
I think they performed well. The thing is, with the secondary, it's sort of the type of thing for me where, if you don't hear their name, and the secondary, Corey Graham sort of tried to lace into the media a little bit last week, saying this: when you don't hear us, it's when we're doing good. Yeah. And you didn't really hear him last week. I've heard about that. Yeah. You didn't really hear about him last week. Rex was complimentary of Ron Darby. He started off his Monday press conference the day after the win over Cincinnati. He had plenty of time to look at tape. Obviously, thought Stephon Gilmore had a great game. Who didn't think that? Yeah. Said that Ron Darby did well. Said Marcel did well. Really complimentary of his defense. And so I have no complaints really with the secondary. Other than Gilmore maybe in that corner fade route, I just think that's one of the worst plays you can run in the goal line. He's just throwing the fade up there. Even Grunk gets stopped on it, let alone why you're going to have, one of the Bills, even Sammy doing it. And that's nothing against Sammy. Sammy's a great wide receiver, but I just don't see that play in the goal line. That's for another day, though, folks. So, Joe, if you want, we can get into some predictions here.
Yeah.
We can wrap the show up that way. Joe, I'll let you go first.
I think, just kind of reiterating what we were just talking about a few minutes ago, I think the way the Bills' offense is set up is sort of matches up in the Bills' favor regarding the Jacksonville defense. I think the Bills are going to be running the ball over them all day. You maybe sneak in a couple passes, but with the injuries, that's certainly not a priority. I think Buffalo will win the game 28-10. I think Jacksonville might sneak in a touchdown or somewhere along the way, but I think this is going to be heavily towards Buffalo.
Yeah, we're pretty close on our predictions here, Joe. I got Jacksonville with a 10 spot up. I think it's hard to ask a shutout of anyone, even though they did a very good job in the second half against the Bengals. I think I'm sure Cincy will get something in there. Certainly don't think it's going to happen what happened last year. E.J. Manuel's not playing, and E.J.'s been a nice guy to me in the locker room, but that was.
And we're in America.
And we're in America this time. We weren't in London this week.
Yeah.
That was the craziest 5 minutes of football I think I've seen. If you guys, anyone needs a refresher on that one, E.J. had to fumble, return for a touchdown, interception, pick six, and then another interception.
Yeah, it was.
But they still came back too. And,
wild.
And Rex this week was still pretty upset about the 3rd and 15, if you remember, Nickel Roby-Coleman.
The pass interference.
The phantom pass interference.
Yeah.
They're still upset about that a little bit. Rex said he's not putting any stock in the last year, but then, of course, in Rex Ryan fashion brought it up. And I think, even though Rex said that the Bills aren't looking back at that game last year, I think they need to. We wrote a piece on this today that I think they need to look at that game. I think they need to take that. We need to hand it to these guys because they were 3-3, went to this game already thinking they're going to be 4-3 heading into the bye week last year. But no, they're 3-4. They lost to the Jags. I think they're going to get it done this year. Again, I have 10 points for the Jaguars. I have 24 for the Bills this week, Joe. I think they're going to put up a decent amount of points. I think we're going to probably see a nice little lead. They're going to see a lot of running the ball. Probably a good amount of Mike Gillislee, hopefully, at the end of the game. And
I think so.
Speaking of Eric Manuel, maybe we'll even see him at the end. That would be nice, right? All right. Well, I guess, Joe, that's all for us.
That's all we got.
Thanks again to Jimmy Jam. Couldn't make it here. Safe travels. I think he's heading to Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie, he mentioned last week.
He's heading to Poughkeepsie to the in-laws. Good luck to him too, because I know he's married to a Patriots fan, so I don't know if that runs deep in the family there.
Right? Yeah, I don't know.
Now we know Bills run deep. Right. I don't know if Patriots run deep. You know. So, but yeah, thanks again everyone for checking out our pre-recorded edition of Batavia Football Talk Live, and of course, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Safe travels if you're going to family and everything. So, Join us next week as we preview the Oakland game.
Yeah. All right. See you later.